Hi, today is day 75 already. I don't think I made an update between day 50 and now. Apologies. The past 25 days have been something. I am still just like really going through something personally right now, which normally I feel like would make me want to write more, but I just have not been really kind of with it. But I kind of did something that directly negated everything I said on day 50. So I'm just gonna let my past self tell you more. Hey there, it is Monday night, February 19th, and I was just trying to do my 10 minutes of writing for today, and I really was still just pushing back on the story that I was working on. Just all those insecurities and thoughts and feelings that I've been sharing just with like not being sure about the story just keep flooding back. And I know in my day 50 reflection, like I was saying that that was a good thing for me and that I was going to push through it. But I just kind of had this moment of like, you know, this is deeper than just like me having trouble writing because I have writer's block. It just felt like the story just doesn't really feel right to me. Like it's just not in a place that I feel like confident or excited about writing out the story and like actually getting into it. At a high level, I'm doing okay, and like I could just kind of free write or journal about the story and like plan it out, but like it just doesn't really feel like it's in the right place for me. So I did have an idea of a story that I've had for quite a few months, probably almost a year at this point, and I just opened up that file instead. I got about 20 words done on the original story I've been working on, and I just opened up my other file and just kind of started working on this other story idea. So I wrote a couple hundred words there, which was kind of a relief because it's, you know, just been hard for me to pump out words at all, but just to like kind of just show up with, I think it was about 160 words directly in the story and like a couple hundred words of just planning around it. It just felt good, and so I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm like dropping this first project forever. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I just think for now, for the rest of this 100 days project, I might want to be focusing on kind of spitting out a draft for this other idea that's maybe a little more exciting and relevant to me and just like feels more right. I don't know. So there you go. I completely changed directions on this project. I feel like this project is no longer write a novel in 100 days. It's more like plan a novel in 100 days, or write in circles until you feel like you don't know what you're doing and you're terrible and you should rethink all of your life choices. Anywho, I'm actually really excited about this new project. I don't know, I'm like still in the planning stages. I'm just sort of like writing things out to plan the sort of world this story is in. I'm going in a really different direction. The idea, I kind of called it The Screen Child, and I know that's kind of like a weird title, and I don't even know if that's going to be like a real title someday, but I had this weird thought. I don't know how it came about, but I was thinking about how I, as someone who grew up kind of in the midst of this like huge change in technology — I was born in the early 90s, I was thinking about how I still really love handwriting things. I have paper planners, I have a bunch of paper notebooks. I just really like having time with myself and just sort of like brain dumping. And for some reason, paper does that for me in a way that typing doesn't. A lot of kids nowadays are learning new skills solely through digital means. So I had this weird thought of like, well, what if a kid was raised just like completely via screens? Like they didn't learn how to handwrite on paper, but they would handwrite on like a tablet. And what if they would just sort of like learn to type, and then basically that's how they would write things from then on? And I kind of just like spiraled this idea into this like weird thing. So we'll just hide my self-consciousness for a second and keep going with this. So, people are also really afraid of tech companies right now, and I feel like, you know, some things that technology is doing is a little bit scary and creepy. You know, people are feeling kind of monitored and watched. There's a lot of anxiety around like how much trust we should put into technology companies. This idea sort of stemmed with like this sort of experiment where they're trying to kind of basically test virtual reality and seeing if someone is living their life basically solely through virtual reality, like they don't have any other people or like physical human contact, could they still become like a normal human being? I'm sort of exploring the questions of like how much humanity is tied to like face-to-face interaction and how necessary like real physical relationships are to our growth and development as people. This story is set a little bit in the future from now. This statistic that's been really sticking out to me and has sort of become like my starting point for the timeline of this is that scientists have said that our oceans are going to be pretty much depleted by 2050. And so I was thinking of, you know, what if we can't turn around the environmental impact we've had on the Earth by 2050, right? Like we're in this sort of like impending doom stage, and I definitely feel this as a millennial. And I feel like that fear with people my age resonates really differently than people who are like 20, 30, 40 years older than me. And those people who are older than me happen to be the ones who make the decisions on like how nicely we treat the earth. And there's like a lot of frustration there for people like me. People my age at that point are probably going to be coming into places where we actually do have some power and agency in society, at least in the US. Like I'm coming from a very American perspective here, but we're going to inherit this, and what are we going to do with it? And my thought was that this sort of big tech company, they're obviously putting a lot of money into like helping fund reversing the damages of climate change. A lot of it's going to be too late. And so the idea is that this company on the surface is doing all of this really good stuff. What if they could kind of preserve nature through virtual reality in a way that people who like are babies in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, like past this point where like they can actually experience these things face to face in the real world? What if we can sort of give them that empathy for nature via VR? For some reason, a lot of my thoughts about this have centered around like ocean conservation, and I don't even feel like that passionately towards that in my day-to-day life, but stay with me. What other good things could this company be doing? And so I thought a lot too about like childhood illnesses, kids who have cancer, kids who are bedridden or homebound or wouldn't be able to actually even go to school and like have a quote-unquote normal life. I was thinking about how maybe there could be this aspect of like social VR where like kids who can't actually experience things by like going outside and being outside could kind of like make friends and have like a classroom and a life and be able to play and run and all these things that like they can't actually do through virtual reality. So from that, tying it back to like this whole raising a kid through VR idea, I feel like they would also want to know their limits to this, right? Like they wouldn't just be like, oh, let's make some happy experiences and make a classroom with a teacher and like let these kids go to school. They would really want to know like how far can we go with this? And so my thought was like this experiment on this child is like them kind of both testing their limits but also seeing like if they could slowly immerse this person more and more and more away from the physical world and into like a full-time virtual reality life. Now, if I might even tack on like a more morbid aspect to this, like thinking about death and like could we live past our death via virtual reality? Yeah, I mean, I know on day 50 I was saying that it would be a good lesson for me to kind of force myself or push myself past my limit of like writing isn't about what you feel motivated or inspired to write in that exact moment. It's about committing to a project and seeing it through. Now, that was what I was trying to go for, but I realized after day 50, you know, in the next maybe like 5 days, not even, I was trying really hard to do that, but I just got to a point where I was looking at one of my pages where I'd kind of started an idea and I was just like, you know, if I'm not feeling this idea and I don't even believe in this project, then what am I doing? So I know that it's weird to totally just derail this project midway through, more than midway through. I'm definitely disappointed in the way that this project has turned out in that it's not what I put down on paper that I was gonna do. And I'm really I've been struggling with a lot of guilt, and I just think I kind of almost wasted 25-ish days on trying to make this idea work and forcing it to be the project that I envisioned, rather than just going with my gut. And my gut was telling me that the first story I was working on, there was a lot to it that grabbed me, and I was really interested in it, and I think someday, you know, it might be a story I keep coming back to, but for where I am right now, I've had this screenchild idea in my head for so long. I told myself that I really wasn't prepared enough or well practiced enough in writing to really go for it. And so I think spending this last 25 days just like committed to this and planning and maybe writing out some scenes that pop in my head and just exploring and having fun again, I think that's really what the lesson needs to be. I put so much pressure on myself, not just at my job, but like just as a human. I'm one of those people who just overthinks. I have a lot of anxiety. I have all these great ideas and projects and things flying around in my brain, and I have trouble following through. And I keep telling myself that's because I'm lazy, I lack discipline, I'm too self-conscious, I need to just do this and this and this, and I come up with all these solutions. But at the end of the day, I think what I really needed to learn was that there's a reason why I think I want to do this, you know? It's a sense of fun and a sense of exploration and creating my own world, and I think I just really missed that. Anyway, I hope I've made my case for why I switched to this project, but I also hope that this is a good lesson for other people too. I feel very vulnerable right now, just sort of like I've been kind of letting everything out about this project so far, and it's really hard to do that when I feel like I failed the original project. I'm really struggling with having to put this out, but I know it's the right thing to do, and I think when I look back on this someday, I'm gonna be really happy that I just followed what my gut was telling me. So, I'm gonna keep writing, and I will update y'all soon.